Hi, friends. My name, if you've never heard of me before, is Host Eric. If you never didn't know what my name was, you got it. You never met me before. You've been told lies about what my name was. All those things are possible. Well, I'm here to set the record straight. My name is Host Eric. I am the host of Talking with Famous People. It is the 4th of July. As a consequence, I want to talk about America. However, I somewhat fear that we're probably not going to get a whole ton of participants because it is the 4th of July. Typically, I don't get a lot of participants on holidays, less participants on weekends as well. One thing that prompted me to want to make this video, though, is I was looking at Google News, and I saw the top headline is that Kanye is running for president. The ridiculous thing, the most insane thing of all, is given the other candidates, he might be marginally better. And he is not a good candidate for president at all, remotely. But the point is, this America in which we live now it's an America in flux. It's an America that doesn't know what it's doing in a lot of ways. It's doing shit because that's what Americans do, you know. Let's all freak out and do stuff before we know or think. Is kind of the American way, unfortunately. But the thing is, I also think that we have a unique opportunity as a country right now because of the concurrence of the COVID stuff and the police reform stuff to reset conversations that have gotten way too accustomed to slogging through the swamp. Spider-Man Spider Sense is really, really, really enhanced NI. I think it's probably really enhanced SE in that instance. I mean, the NI I get, I think it's a combination of the two. The NI makes use of the data to conclude things about it. But in that instance, because like Peter Parker can tell something's happening like not in his immediate vicinity, then that's like you got to have super heightened senses, I would guess, to be able to hear it. And of course, you do have to have some intuition to determine what it is. It's a good way of thinking about introverted intuition as well. Is like if you imagine yourself hunting, not only is introverted intuition the thing that tells you when to shoot the arrow, it's also the thing that distinguishes. It says, you know what? It does sound kind of like a deer, but it actually sounds different. Something's weird here. I'm out of here. Says that, or it might go, sounds like two deers, actually. The other person might go, I think it might be a bear. It's too big for a deer. And the introverted intuitor listens and goes, it's two deers. So it's like that kind of thing is what is kind of linked to Spidey sense. The gray-tailed yelling deers of North Dakota they scream at the top of their lungs almost constantly.
Are we going, or was that just an idea?
Going where?
Oh, we wanted to see fireworks.
Oh, I forgot all about that. I'm sorry, my brain is at 40% right now, probably.
It's okay.
We can. Do you want me to stop this? We can go. I just started it.
You're special. It's totally fine.
Okay. Sure.
I appreciate that, though.
Okay, my bad. He's not just a spider, Delord. Okay, he's a Spider-Man. The difference between Spider-Man and just a spider, 3 little letters, M-A-N. Now, it does bring up the topic, of course, of the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom comprises Aquaman, of course, the original Animal Kingdom person. You might say it includes Spider-Man, but it doesn't really, because Spider-Man can't control spiders. That's what would be required if you would be part of the animal kingdom. Land command can control spiders. Well, he can't control them, but he can call them to him. That's the thing. It's like, do you really want to call a bunch of spiders over to you? Probably not.
Excuse me.
Batman can't control bats. Also, not part of the animal kingdom. Can Mole Man control moles? No, I think he just digs underneath the ground.
What is this?
Um,
This is yours and mine.
Mine? Hey, CIA's here again. Cool. Boy, they have got you just lounging around in the CIA, don't they, John P. Murphy?
That's your food. Please take the phone too.
You can manipulate broccoli. You can talk broccoli into doing things it doesn't want to. How old am I? 49. Okay, Winston's mom. Everybody's saying I have to take you to fireworks. You're going to be upset. So maybe we should go.
I mean, like, how much do you want to actually do that?
I mean, put it this way. I don't not want to do it enough to cause me resentment, but I don't actually want to do it. But if you actually want to do it and it's going to cause you resentment that I don't go, then I'd much rather go.
No, it's not a big deal.
All right, cool.
Yeah. I think we could have like fun here.
That's just true email anthrax.
Luckily, I've had some like really good experiences with fireworks in the past, so it's no big deal. And also, this is going on, which is fun too.
Who's Rory? Who is Rory, Kevin Chin? Rory, who has been freed. The pig? Rory the pig was freed? Why was Rory the pig imprisoned? I mean, the thing is, anthrax, we didn't have any plans to do any fireworks things until I just mentioned to Rachel, oh, you know what, we should drive down to El Monte because that's where all the illegal fireworks are.
But you forgot about it.
Then I immediately forgot about it. Just like we went to the Jack in the Box earlier, I didn't bring my wallet with me. And when we got back home, I once again forgot about it, and it was like an hour before we went back to the Jack in the Box again. So it's been one of those kind of non-mindful days, I guess you could say. Not very mindful. Let's go Boomtown. Dude, you're way too forgetful.
Like you, Winston's mom.
Yeah, El Monte has lots of illegal fireworks. It's in Baldwin Park. My daughter lives in Baldwin Park, and if you go over there on July 4th, it's like just a bunch of Mexican fireworks. People shoot them up into the air. They're like miniature ones of the professional fireworks. It's the same basic thing. They shoot up into the air pretty high and they explode, but they don't make massive explosions. They just kind of like pop and green. Where's that string for your finger? Like I said, we didn't really have any plans for the 4th at all. We didn't talk about any plans or anything like that. It was just a notion that struck me about 10 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. I didn't think it was like. I had a feeling it was a passing idea. For some untap. That's why I double check.
David White says, Eric, you seem like the kind of person who eats only for substance and don't enjoy food. Kind of. Sometimes, I mean, I do enjoy food, but it is the case that I typically eat faster than anybody else I'm eating with because I find eating to be like not a good use of time or something. It's like, why should this take so long, I guess? I've always been annoyed by the fact that I have to eat and drink and stuff. I remember when I was younger, I used to think, I wish there was a pill that you could take that would just feed you and water you and bathroom you too, you know? An SI pill.
I just want to have like a zapper to clean up.
Shoot something lifted in the air and moves it over where it goes. That'd be
Mhm.
cool. Pickles or no pickles? I love pickles when I'm just eating the pickles. I don't like pickles on hamburgers. At least not McDonald's pickles on McDonald's.
Hell
hamburgers.
no, they're the worst.
Rachel and I both order our McDonald's hamburgers the same way with no pickles when we remember.
Yeah. And when we forget, we remember.
We pick it off and throw it out the window.
Because there's disgusting.
I guess it was yesterday. We went to drive-through and I forgot to get mine with no pickles, but I remembered Rachel's with no pickles. It's like I want a quarter pounder meal and also let me get a cheeseburger with no pickles. And so thought about installing a feeding tube. I tell you what, I really like the idea of. I'm really intrigued by this. Is the idea of a condom catheter, where you put a condom over your penis and have a tube to a bucket, so when you have to pee during the night, you don't even have to get out of bed. That just sounds like wow. Somebody is doing that and living large, living way larger than I am. It's like, why am I not doing that? Well, it's kind of socially questionable. Like, if people walk into your room or something in the morning, you're sleeping, and they see you lying there with a tube coming out of your crotch into a bucket with urine, they'll be like, you're gross. But the fact is, I might be gross, but I'm also comfortable at that point. I don't have to get out.
I'm okay with it.
What does that sound? Is that?
Yeah.
It looks like a moth, though. I don't know, whatever it is. You like pickled okra? This is Mom. There's not anything in the world you can do to okra to make it good. You can just make it survival food if need be. It's like Brussels sprouts. Okra is the Brussels sprouts of okra.
Ew, both of them. I'm so grossed out now.
What are we having for dinner tonight? Brussels sprouts and okra. Ew, I don't want either of those things. I don't want Brussels sprouts or okra. If you had to pick one as your side vegetable, Rachel, what would you pick?
Side dish?
If you had to pick one of those as your side dish, Brussels sprouts or okra,
Ugh.
which would you pick?
Probably Brussels sprouts. At least you could add butter to those. Like, I think there's no.
They're easier to throw because they're round.
Mhm.
No, I don't want a urethral insertion. No. That's what's called a condom catheter. A condom catheter is just like putting on a condom, except instead of having no hole at the tip to prevent your sperms from getting out, it has a tube coming out of it that helps your urine to go into a bucket or something. Like paraplegics will often use condom catheters because they don't need a catheter because their prostate doesn't work. They need a catheter because they don't have conscious control over those muscles. So like in other words, there's nothing wrong with their bladder and penis, so they just use a condom catheter rather than an inserted catheter. You've had LSD infused okra. That does make it taste a lot more lysergic. If you like lysergism. Eric, you freaking lazy, bro? I am pretty lazy, but I also am kind of not lazy. Depends what you think of as being. I got a lot of shit done, yeah. We went to the Smart Final.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of beverages.
I mailed my letter to my dad.
She mailed your letter. Worked on music. I worked on that document some more right now about slots for INFJs.
Yeah.
Kevin Chen, listen. Maybe you can't taste it, okay? Maybe Steady says there's no difference in taste, but I can tell, okay? It's a lifestyle choice. Organic is better whether it's tasting different or not. Lysergic, same thing. America, freedom in Yosemite. Boy, that's high billing for Yosemite. I do want to talk some about America, which is why I sort of titled it that.
LSD is vegan. LOL. I'm sorry.
It can be vegan, but here's the problem, CIA John P. Murphy. There are so many times when you will get LSD from a merchant and they will needlessly put gluten in it. My dad.
Hi there, hi Kitty. I'm having mild chest pains. I don't think it's anything serious. I'm not having any other symptoms.
Let me listen to your chest.
Huh?
Let me listen to your chest. It's steady. It's not arrhythmic at all. But at that pace.
Well, I'm just telling you, but I just said I don't think it's anything
Is it the middle of your chest?
right here.
It could
Does
be
your arm
acid
feel okay?
reflux.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, the left arm is the biggest
Well, I have
sign.
a mild heart condition. I take.
Okay. Well, if your arm starts hurting, then let's take you to the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
You keep me updated if your arm starts hurting.
Yeah. Right now I'm good, and I just could be indigestion. I had that Panda Express for dinner.
Mhm.
I don't know. So I'll take a Tums or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. and-
I'm just letting you know. I don't
all right. So yeah, if your water breaks,
nothing to panic.
so when your water breaks, I'll be packed and we'll be good to go. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, my wonderful father. I'm sure he's
Yeah.
fine. But
What's up, David White?
yeah, I will check in on him. I'm gonna check in
Yeah.
on him a lot. I mean, the thing is, I hate to be so practical about the matter, but talk about a logistical nightmare. If my father were to die before my mother, yeah, and I'm gonna have to run everything around here. That's a very selfish reason, but you know, I'm not up to being my dad yet. I'm still a kid. I can't be my dad yet.
Call hospital.
I think that's going a little
I think
overboard. Let me at least have him have some other symptom besides a little bit of minor chest pain.
the left arm feeling numb is a big way of telling if it's a heart attack, and throwing up too. That usually comes with a heart attack. I know because my dad had quadruple bypass.
Wow.
Yep. So it's a good thing that your dad's like keeping us updated for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it as well. The weird thing is, of course, it's not that I think he's having a heart attack necessarily. It's just that he's not one to ever say anything like that. He doesn't come
True.
ever really mention anything like that. So, honestly, with this virus raging, what the fuck? I was talking about earlier wanting to make a video about all the random shit that people blame on COVID. David White, yes, my parents are still together, but my mom is not really herself anymore. She's in a nursing home. She has advanced dementia. So, they never got divorced or anything, obviously, but he's not going to divorce her for that, obviously. But the thing is, they don't live together anymore, is where I'm going with this. They live in separate residences because my mom's not, she's not like a fully regular human being, really. She's highly impacted by her illness. The gas station today. There's a sign. It says, first there's a sign that say, if you want to go inside to buy something, inside the gas station thing, to get cigarettes, then you have to have a mask on. But if you don't have a mask, you can go to the window. Yeah, Rosemus, I know. That's partially why I'm making this video. I saw that Kanye West is running for president. And, at a certain point, I just want to throw up my hands and say, come on, people. So, it's like at the gas station, they had a sign up that said, there are no public restrooms available on account of COVID. Well, how does that make any sense at all? I mean, I'm not worried about that. None of us are worried about that.
What?
Exposing him to COVID. I want a shirt that says, God, this mask is stupid. Kanye's nutty. I didn't mean to laugh at somebody's mom dying of COVID. I didn't think I laughed at it, did I?
No.
Kanye must make Kim crazy with all his antics. She seems very into appearance.
Obviously.
I mean, they're still together.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're both shallow. So just because they have different forms of shallowness doesn't mean they're incompatible. I guess. So the thing is, what should we do about COVID? What should we do? Well, surely we should at least wear masks and gloves and stuff. No, we shouldn't. We should put the onus where it belongs. The bathroom at the gas station was not a bathroom that I was ever going to go into and think to myself, nice and clean. I just rub my hands all over the floors and the walls and lick my hands. And, it's like, no, that's never going to happen in a public bathroom because I'm already going in there thinking it's gross. If I'm concerned about COVID, I can avoid those public bathrooms. If I go into those public bathrooms, I do have a mask and gloves on, probably it's no less likely to transfer COVID to me than any other environment. Do we have any reason to think that public bathrooms are especially likely places for COVID to get transferred? After all, when people are in a public bathroom, they're typically very much in elevator mode, like taking up as little space as possible and trying not to stand next to other people. I type him as ENFJ too, John P. Murphy. Listen, his taking the mic from Taylor Swift is downright un-American. I'll ask him to. I'll go ask my dad to take it out. He went to bed. Sure, I can't ask him. I will definitely check on him before I go to bed myself tonight. Where does Torchlit fit in that list? Personally, David White, this is my favorite lighter for most ignition purposes. Be it lighting a cigarette, lighting a bowl, lighting a bong rip, lighting a joint. However, this is not a good lighter to use when lighting a pipe, a small pipe, or what young people nowadays call a piece. Despite the fact that when you refer to something as a piece, you are guaranteed to provoke the question, a piece of what? They're underrepresented or misrepresented? No, I was asking somebody there. Are they underrepresented or are they misrepresented? It's like the CIA misrepresent their own INTP and INFJ members. Winston's mom, how are you enjoying the eclipse? I haven't looked up at it, but
You can't see it yet. It's hiding behind trees. Tonight it'll show. I have my stones out.
Everyone remember to pray to Eric 3 times a day to stop COVID. Listen, Ordinum Media, Ordinum Media. I'm going to make this clear. Doesn't matter how much you pray to me, I'm not stopping COVID. The correct thing to do with COVID is to let it run its course. If I knew somebody who had COVID, I'd probably go catch it from them on purpose so I could guarantee that I had the immunity. And then I get a sign on me that says, I have the antibodies. Fucktard, so don't bother me about me not wearing a mask. A business from the city where I live has invented a COVID sandwich spread. So you can eat COVID for breakfast. I'm kind of hungry. You see, this is the thing. If we brought back Middle Ages man, another one of my superhero notions was a guy who was raised in a country in Europe that is like Amish, but they're Amish about the Middle Ages. So it's like they refuse to use anything that's technology that's beyond the Middle Ages. Anyway, this person was raised by this family the whole time, so he has very Middle Ages values. He's constantly wanting to start crusades, for example, and the point is, if he were to come around here and look at COVID, he'd go like, "You little girls have got to be kidding me! You call this a plague? You know what we had in Middle Ages times? We had the bubonic plague. That's a real plague. 0.2% death rate, by the way. Thanks, John P. Murphy. I believe that's exactly what I predicted from a long time ago. And everyone was saying 4% or whatever. I said, no, not even close to that. Nobody had any answers for my points that I made that have been proved true since, but they still maintain the same position. I don't understand it. The book moon is gorgeous here. I feel terrific. You? I feel scattered today. I feel kind of all over the place. I'm not very mindful, I guess. But I'm looking forward to taking a bath relatively soon. And I do believe I shall sleep well tonight. I'm going to take a couple of Tylenol PMs and a couple of what are they called? Chlorotronitons. Let's create total economic destruction because a very low percentage of the population may be at risk of demonstrating extreme symptoms. Yes, this is a good idea. Right. I mean, the thing is, the problem with the whole COVID response is we need to begin this conversation with how much worse than an average flu how much worse than an average flu is this actually in terms of death rate or harms? And the answer is it's not as bad as an average flu. You know, the one of my most powerful COVID videos, I forgot about it until just a second, in fact, was a video where I proved that this is very much like a flu. In fact, here's the thing, Jason Blood. Do you remember what the big fuss was in the beginning? It was Italy. How so many people were dying in Italy, and the streets ran with blood from COVID. Except I looked at the death stats for Italy. In 2016, their death numbers for those months were almost exactly the same. I looked into it. There was a flu. It barely got mentioned. They certainly didn't take any kinds of equivalent precautions if they actually had more flu season deaths that year. It was only like 4 years ago. It's not like this is I'm comparing it to totally relevant data, and this is less bad. 132,000 people have died since February in the U.S. from coronavirus. And how many people have died since February in the U.S. from something else? How many people have died from something else? How many people who died from coronavirus or COVID might have survived if they weren't forced into isolation? Because psychological factors are important in healing as well. I mean, I don't think they're fudged. I think that they're not being analyzed very well. Like, at the beginning, they had confirmed rate of 4%, but I could see just by thinking about it for 1 second. Okay, but they're only testing the most sick people. The rate's going to be dramatically lower than that. And in fact, it was exactly what I called it at, 0.2%. That's lower than the average flu. 99% survival rate means let it run its fucking course. Put the onus on the people who want to protect themselves from it. Stop trying to centrally control everybody's behavior because some people might get sick and die. People die. It's what happens. I mean, the thing is, CIA, John P. Murphy, I don't buy that argument. it suggests that some very small financial interests that are served by the very narrow benefits attained by COVID, and whose portfolios are so undiversified that they're on balance served by those things, can't possibly have more economic power than the vast amounts of vested economic interest that is harmed by this.
What up, Leonard Peen?
Do you have an opinion on tribesmen using the N-word? Well, I mean, I use it all the time. I use it when I'm singing along with rap songs, and sometimes I use it when I turn African American, just because I can. Then
Mm-hmm.
Now that I'm Toto trans, nothing can stop me. I am Toto trans. I'm transageal. I'm transracial. I'm transgender. I'm trans intelligence. It means I go from dumb to smart and back again random times. I'm trans sporty. Sometimes I'm very sporty and sometimes not at all. Norb. Transracial, racially fluid. We're here. We're racially fluid. We don't want any more identity politics. We're here. We're racially fluid. We don't want any more identity politics. So,
I love the sounds of firecrackers going off.
I think a good name for a supervillain is the potato famine. And what he does is he goes into restaurants and people aren't looking. He takes the potato off of their plate and runs off with it.
Oh my god.
He's Irish, of course. I've got your potato. That is more like
That's
pirate
good.
than Irish, I think. But
That was, yeah, men's amends.
it was Irish.
Yeah.
Let's see. Irish. What did they say? What's some Irish words?
Hey, King Krishna, son of the good. I'm Irish also, and I have no problem with this.
As clean as an Irish morning. Is that Irish? I don't know. The
As
potato
clean as
famine.
Irish.
Yeah, isn't that a good supervillain? The potato famine. He's an Irish guy who steals potatoes, and the reason is he's trying to get back at the rest of the world because he feels wronged on Ireland's behalf.
One more. I'm half Italian.
Whenever he sees people planting any kind of vegetable, he runs up to him and screams, "God damn it, you've got to diversify!"
I actually want to. I got the 23andMe done, so I could actually show the percentages of what I am, and I wanted to do like a video on it because I'm basically everything.
Hey, you know what, Rachel? We just
Except
both
for South
got
America and Spain.
so burned
Did we?
by Leonard Peen. He says, "This is the best father-daughter channel I've seen." The implication there is that you're so much younger than me, you could be my daughter.
I am 35.
I'm 49. So you could be my daughter in theory if I was sexually active at 13, which I definitely was not.
I'm glad you weren't.
Definitely was not.
I'm glad you weren't. You're a kid then.
I do have a daughter, but she's 14 years younger than Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fortunate because my 35-year-old girlfriend looks younger than 35. And, not a lot. There's not really any wrinkle or sag to Rachel, She's a healthy young woman.
Thanks, Bae.
You're welcome, darling.
Same to you. I think you're sprightly.
I appreciate it.
You're a sprightly young man.
I am sprightly. I'm sprightly and lithe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm virile, and what's the other word? Libidinous.
Yeah, you are.
I'm virile and libidinous. So what's up with all the breaking down of statues?
Okay.
It's just a crime. As far as I'm concerned, people who are
Yeah,
tearing down statues need to be arrested and put in jail. Or at least punished or whatever. What does your dad think about your weed smoking activities? Does he participate? No, although I was just thinking right then of offering him a bong rip, but it probably would make him more paranoid about it. Not if he wouldn't smoke it anyway. He never has, as far as I know, and he's an SI tool user. He's got 80 plus years of he's got 80 plus years of SI that means he's not interested in new things. Rachel and I will sometimes suggest something that seems like very much what he would like.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because it wasn't what he had planned for right now, so the answer is always no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I smoke weed in front of my daughter. Sure. I smoke lots of weed in front of my daughter. My daughter doesn't really like marijuana, but she's a drinker. I don't drink alcohol.
I don't drink alcohol either.
And my daughter got in trouble with my dad for drinking too much alcohol in Hawaii. And I was like, fuck yeah, not me. Ever since I quit drinking, it's great. I don't get in trouble for drinking too much.
That is nice.
White privilege is real and needs to end. I vote to rip out the hate statues from the past. Well, white privilege is exactly the same as every other color privilege, which is we all have the privilege of not considering people's identity when considering their arguments.
What's DTF? I never, ever, ever know.
Down to
I
fuck.
know, and I like that you think it's cute that I don't know.
Licentious is not a bad one. But libidinous, I like a little bit better. Lascivious is good. What about lugubrious? It means something entirely different, but it also starts with a law. Leonard Payne got a lot of hatred in your heart, huh? Like to come in here and provoke and be a hater and such. Well, that's good. Take your best shot.
Ooh.
Leonard Payne.
Oh.
Trying to be provocative.
Yeah.
Right. The thing is, Leonard Payne, if you want to be provocative, you can do so in a wide range of ways. In other words, you can be provocative in an interesting way, which suggests to me that you're smart and worth talking to, or you can reveal the alternative to that, in which case you're just boring. What do you mean in your country you still have legal slavery? We just lie about it. What country do you live in? There's no legal slavery anywhere. It's, shorter than some Middle Eastern countries with the immigrant workforces, I guess. Speaking of privilege, did you know that in Argentina, if you don't have enough Italian ancestry, they'll lower your status, and there's a point where you become a second-class citizen in Argentina? Interesting. I had no idea. How do you establish your Italian ancestry? I guess you got to do this. Mwah! Mamma mia!
I have from the latest, one of the more recent National Geographics from your dad, talks about the area that my ancestors were from. I put the map on the board. But I'm only half Italian.
CIA, John P. Murphy, I want to give you a little tip. DMSO will make that DMT soluble through the skin. Yeah. And then you don't have to ingest it at all. Isn't that great? Ay. Or Adrena Media, you are just random.
Rape Train? Wow, that is time out for sure.
So this thing here, when did I ever say something hateful? I'm not sure I'm not saying you're being hateful, like hate speech hate. I'm saying you're probably a hater. It's different, Being a hater doesn't mean you said something hateful. It means you're being combative out of a sense of, I guess, identity threat or something like that.
Like calling me Betty Boop?
I mean, just a notion. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
true or correct. Correct or incorrect.
I
But
don't know.
in my opinion, as long as the local county or city votes for the Confederate statues to come down, they should. Well, sure. Then they're not being torn down by mobs. Then it's a political action that's been successfully attained an outcome. That's fine. I don't necessarily have a strong opinion that we should keep the statues. My opinion is if they're going to take the statues down, it needs to be correctly follow the political process. It can't just be some random person deciding I'm mad enough that it's justified. Yes, my darling.
Can I tell a New York story?
Please do.
So, in New York, there was a lot of controversy over the Christopher Columbus circle statue because of the history behind Christopher Columbus and the abuse. So, what did they do? They had a vote on it. And what happened? People realized that they were like, you know what? It's been up for so long. Why the hell take it down? You vote.
Mm-hmm. I'm not confused, Leonard. I might be wrong. I definitely intuited some things about you that I don't have deductively sustainable substantiation for. I'm just using my intuition, and it could be wrong, but I'm not confused. That's for sure. It's possible to be wrong without being confused. Make the best choice you can given the data you have.
Christopher Columbus was known for there's a lot of Christopher Columbus controversy about how he actually gained the land was supposedly abusive. We don't know for sure, but the people voted, and the people voted to keep the statue. So who the fuck gives a fuck? They did it the right way.
You know what? Hey, Morris, let me tell you something. Columbus didn't just discover America. He discovered my heart. It was the Penta came around one day and said, "Hey, there's your heart." Is that where it is?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. When I was in college, I really liked Columbus Day because we got it off for school. So I had a long weekend, and I would go home to New York, and then I would come back. It was nice.
Look, Morris,
October in New York.
Columbus may have murdered a few natives. That's true. But what did he provide? The delicious flavor of maize to Europe. We now know it is corn. It's all thanks to Columbus, getting the Indians to give him some corn.
I had this one.
It's important.
It's just part of history. So
Look, Christopher Columbus had 3 ships: Nina, Penta,
and the
Santa Maria. But you want to know the truth? He only ever rode on one of those
That's
ships.
right.
He didn't really have 3 ships. He had 1 ship, and somebody else had 2 other ships. Somebody else had a ship, another person had a ship. There was 3 captains there. There's no way Columbus is bouncing from boat to boat as they're sailing across the ocean. Unless he had a jetpack or something.
I love the crackling sounds. It makes me so happy.
It sounds like thunder, huh?
So exciting. I feel bad for dogs because some dogs get really afraid during the fireworks, but I love it. I love celebrating America. I'm a very American girl.
And what better way to celebrate America than with explosions?
Exactly. That's what they did. That's exactly how they celebrated the cannon fire. They use cannon smoke and use detonators to create fireworks.
You want to know something else that's interesting is LA has this law, and about maybe 10 years ago, they started having public service announcements and stuff. Don't shoot your gun in the air on New Year's Eve or 4th of July. That the bullet will fall down from the heavens and kill somebody. That's not true. That's not. If you shoot your gun up in the air, the bullet velocity on the way back down does not have enough speed to kill anybody.
Probably sting a bit.
Maybe it would sting a bit. It might penetrate the skin a little bit.
Yeah, I think it would sting a bit.
Okay, King Christian Sound for Good. Do you believe the children are our future? I don't. I think the future is still in front of me. How can they be our future when I'm older than them? Is it just Democrats who want to destroy statues? Wasn't they actually the ones who supported slavery, black people, and Republicans were the ones against it? Or maybe they used to, but not anymore. They got to admit they did. They eventually changed their mind. Listen, there's not any human being alive who was functionally or meaningfully a supporter of slavery. The policy issue is over. It's like 160 years old.
That's the thing.
So it's meaningless to say, well, those people were the ones who. No, those people had nothing to do with slavery. I had nothing to do with slavery. Even when I'm white, I had nothing to do with slavery. I don't owe anybody anything. Black people had nothing to do with slavery. They were never enslaved. Unless they're over 160 years old. We can't really see a lot from here because there's a lot of trees. I think they're too far away, maybe. Or they're not right.
Yeah, I saw a couple. I saw 2 fireworks
That's cool.
from down the way. Yeah.
I don't want to be at all a negative nanny about fireworks, but I just don't. I've never found them particularly entertaining or interesting. Even when I was a kid, I was like, okay, this is boring.
That tends to be an ENTP trend. You're not the first time I've heard that.
You
I
guys,
just think it's so American. And I seriously am like such an American.
yeah, me too. I do like the SI quality to it. This yearly event that
Yeah.
happens. You know, when you're a kid, holidays are more of a big deal. You know, especially 4th of July because it's the one fire where your parents let you. One holiday in which your parents let you play with fire.
Fire, yeah. I always appreciated a sparkler.
Oh, Derek, I feel you owe me an apology. I've been forced to listen to your dribble and I feel wrong. Yes, that's right. I did force you, didn't I?
Dribble about what?
Well, I think what David White means is he's been forced to listen to my drivel.
Yeah.
But regardless, perhaps the point, though, is what David's trying to highlight is that I can, without doing anything, force people to stay here. Just by giving them a look. Hey, you're not going anywhere, David White. You stay right here, mister. You are not allowed to leave this live stream.
Get it.
I like Christmas for SI reasons, too. Yeah, I just timed you out, or Adreno Media. Getting timed out ain't that big of a deal. It's only a 5-minute timeout.
Yeah, I know he's up here.
Here's another hilarious thing. Trump is setting up a federal statue that's going to be federally protected. And the people going around tearing down statues are mad. I also don't think there's any reason to purposefully entrap people in the crime of statue tearing down, which is a weird, it's like a weirdly specific crime. Is it a crime? Yes. People are vandalizing property that is not their own. Does that mean we should set up statue tear down entrapments? Like, let's build some statues that are offensive just so we can tempt people to tear them down so then we can arrest them for it? No, of course not. That's stupid. That's incredibly dumb. So why is Trump's mad because he thinks the people pulling down the statues are his political enemies and they represent the other side of the political spectrum from him. So he's mad about that. So he's like, well, fine, let's put up some statues with huge penalties if you tear them down. And then I'm going to goad you into tearing them down. And then I'm going to arrest your ass. And then I'll feel like, yeah, I showed them. It's just divisive bullshit, divisive groupism. Antifa's not a serious entity or enterprise. People who are on the right go, oh, what is the world coming to, Antifa? What's the world coming to, COVID? Black Lives Matter is silly nonsense. It's just absolutely silly nonsense. Police reform is a serious issue, and humans, because of the way we are, have totally gotten sidetracked in this thing that's completely irrelevant to anything that matters. Namely, the race of the people who are being whose rights are being violated. Of course, we have to respond to the rights violation in a racially blind way anyway. So why are we making such a big deal about the race of the people? Regardless, yeah. Eric, do you mean by letting the virus die out on its own that no one should even be hospitalized, even if they're... No, I'm just saying you let it run its course. What I mean by that is you treat it like you do any other flu. If I were a vulnerable population, knowing that if I had some sort of immune deficiency or if I were very old, then I would take a lot of effort to prevent myself from getting COVID. I wouldn't expect others, I wouldn't try to burden other people with putting a lot of effort on them to stop me from getting COVID. That's backwards. That makes no sense at all. So,
Sorry.
it's okay. So it's like, that's what I mean by let it run its course. If people want to recommend masks, fine. If certain stores choose on their own without any government intervention to say we require a mask, all respect is their store, right? But certainly we don't need any sort of universal rule, in part because what do we do with the fact that increasingly, if 120,000 people have died of this thing in the United States alone, and that represents 0.2%, well, if 120,000 people were 1%, it would be 12 million people have it. If it were 0.5%, 24 million people have it. 0.25%, 50 million people have it. So, in other words, there's something like 49 point whatever million people who have immunity to COVID. They had the antibodies already. They've already had the disease. They survived it. If 140,000 people have died of it, that means that approximately 49 million people have survived it. So the thing to remember is, well, what are we going to do? Why aren't we caring about any of those people? There are 50 million people who are unfairly having COVID restrictions applied to them, even though they cannot transmit the disease, nor can they catch it. So why don't they matter? It's 50 million people. Fine, I'll go check out my dad. Boy, Mrs. Mom, you are so worried about everything. I remember the morning I came out here and I said I woke up with an itchy anus. And you told me I might have pinworms in my butthole.
Oh my gosh, no.
I don't. Of course, I don't have pinworms. That is just some TE solvency. Just because you complain about something doesn't mean you want it solved. I had a good solution for my itchy anus. I scratched it. I will go check out my phone.
Black Lives Matter, but the organization doesn't and is a Marxist cult. It's a separative group. It separates people. Pipi's going outside now. I hope she feels more comfortable and trouble doesn't come around. She's following Daddy. I don't know what math you're doing here. 132,000 people have died out of 2,500 million infected. That's 5% mortality rate. Where are these numbers coming from, though, Jason Blood? It's caterpillar time!
Well, I didn't talk to him, but I did see him, and he's fine. He was lying on his bed with his eyes closed, kind of like his book. So, like he just set it down. He still had the light on, but he's breathing fine, and he's kind of moving around like somebody who's settling into sleep, not like he was having a heart attack.
Okay.
That's a good thing.
Listen to what Rusmus points out here. Last official pandemic of the Mexican flu caused my country to buy 34 million vaccines, 20 million of which weren't used. Same people are still calling shots today. Right. Why don't we stop trying to centralize public health response in this fashion? It's silly. It's stupid. There has never been in the history of humankind a species-threatening pandemic that wasn't driven by incredibly bad user error. Like in the Middle Ages, bubonic plague was that sort of plague, but the reason it was so persistent was because just there was no hygiene. It was awful. Life was, solitary, nasty, brutal, and short. Modern media is right. All Germans are single old women. Well, in fact,
I didn't know that at all.
as soon as a German boy reaches adolescence, he converts instantly to an old woman.
Must be not too many old women.
A lot of them, no. They're all single too. In
Mm.
Germany, they all have to marry sauerkraut. Yeah, this whole thing is just like, to the extent that people who were worried were right, they were right because people were so stupid that they created the problem by being so nutty about being scared about the problem. It's like,
Yeah.
I have not been scared of COVID for 1 minute. I'm very outside. It's just like, fucking let me just get it then. I get it and get over with it. Yes, they're concerned for my father. He complained about some mild chest pains earlier. He does take blood pressure medicine, and I've never heard him complain about chest pains before. So in that regard,
He says he has a heart condition.
he has high blood pressure. He has to take some kind of heart
ESTJs do
pills.
have. My mom has high blood pressure too. That's funny.
And you're an ISFP called Capio.
Rick Benson doesn't approve of pandemics.
Queen. Thank you, Pee-Pee, for joining us.
Look, I'm not saying that pandemics are good or bad. I'm just saying, they don't bother me. Because I think the pandemics can tell that I run shit around here. And it's like when a pandemic tries to crowd in, that's where I draw the line.
It's been a while, Rick Benson.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
Drawing lines, being a hero, running shit, doing stuff, teaching intuitards about how to be real human beings instead of just computer nerds.
How do I be a human being?
Well,
Me personally.
Well, that's the ESP way.
True.
Exactly, Travis. This past pandemic was a bit of a problem. For a lot of my friends anyway, it did interrupt the puss. For me, steady flow of puss coming through. Just nonstop. Day in, day out. It's like, have you heard of Wilt Chamberlain's claim? They slept with 30,000 women. That's right. He claims that.
Oof.
Child's play. I hit 48,000 yesterday. 48,000 chicks I slayed.
Wow.
Pretty good at 49 years old. It's approximately 1,000 chicks a year. Now, you might say, hey, Eric, that's like almost 3 chicks a day. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like 3 different chicks a day. Shawty Lowe tried to call me up and brag to me one time. He's like, I've got 11 kids by 10 different women. I got 1,100 kids by like 1,200 different women. It's like, it doesn't work that way. It's not possible. I was like, yeah, it is when you're me.
Ah, that's very impressive.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes sometimes I'm so good. It's like I might hump one chick, and the sperm will impregnate her, then leap out of her into another chick, and impregnate her too. That's how powerful my sperms are.
That sounds very powerful.
The virus is constantly mutating, so waiting for a vaccine or medicine is waiting for breakthroughs for. The other thing to remember about viruses is they naturally mutate or evolve, quote unquote, towards less virulent forms. Obviously, for a virus to be effective, it's got to both infect a person and have them live long enough to have them infect other people. So that's the problem with something like Ebola. It kills people it debilitates them so dramatically and kills them so fast and does so much to them that it's very easy to isolate. But something like COVID, it didn't start out as a particularly strong one, but with all viruses, they get less virulent over time, not more virulent. The viruses that do the least damage to the subject are the ones that have the easiest time of being transmitted and of surviving longest inside the host. If there's a virus that can come in and trick my immune system into thinking it's not a virus, then it could live there a long time, I guess. But then that would mean it wouldn't do anything, I guess. R originally measured the reproduction of people. In epidemiology, the same principle applies, but it measures the spread of infection population. Okay, but see, Winston, my problem is this. I don't mind that kind of data about infection spread and the way that things express exponentially in terms of spreading. Okay, that's fine. But the problem is we have to accept that fact and then think about it. We can't just go, this is an argument in favor of man. The reality is what's important to remember is that it doesn't matter. Of course, it's true that COVID being a novel illness is highly contagious and the spread is going to be very dramatic. And that's fine. And that's totally okay. Because that means it's no longer a problem and everybody has antibodies, except for the unlucky 0.2% of the oldest, sickest people who die from it. This is a dream pandemic. It doesn't kill very many young people at all. It doesn't debilitate people unless it kills them. It's it's not something we're going to be able to stop the spread of, and so we should never have even attempted it. Locking down the entire state for 2 months, as soon as we unlocked it, oh no, numbers are spiking. Lock it down again. Lock it down again. You morons. I said don't lock it down in the first place for these very reasons. If you think about how things work, then you realize we're not going to stop this pandemic. We're not going to, period. Either it's not nearly as contagious as we're sold, and so all these mask bullshit, mask theater is actually effective, which it's not because people only half-assedly wear them anyway. But either it is effective, in which case there's no reason for these restrictions because we can just wear masks. Or it's not effective, in which case the exceptions make the non-exceptions pointless. And once again, we can't sensibly use that policy approach. When people argue outcomes or like, oh, but this is a really scary disease because it spreads really fast. Spreading really fast is not a reason to treat it differently. It's a reason, if anything, to encourage people to get it.
Hi, everyone.
We're using the actual sensible numbers, which is to say, whatever the death rate is in the United States, it's 10 times less than that at least because of the testing protocols. I said this from the beginning, months before anybody else was saying it. And everybody sort of didn't respond to it. They didn't have any answers to it. People who disagreed with me, they didn't have answers to that point. But it didn't change their mind anyway. And they continued to advocate for these bad policies. Then Eric was proved correct. And still, they think, oh, well, somehow we should do something. No, listen to me, for God's sakes. Stop destroying everything and listen to me.
Hi, Christian Alvarez Miranda.
Well, that's the thing, Randy Fox. If masks are effective at preventing me from spreading it, but not at preventing me from getting it from somebody who's not wearing a mask, which is supposedly how it is. Like, let's say Rachel has it. She has no mask. I don't have it to have a mask. Apparently, that's not very effective at preventing me from getting it. But that if she has a mask, it's effective at preventing her from spreading it. So the idea here is, oh, well, because of this dynamic, it justifies forcing everybody to wear a mask, whether they have it or not, whether they have antibodies or not, doesn't matter. Now, that's a problem because why? Right away, you can see it violates common sense logic. It doesn't make any sense. It's putting the burden on the wrong people. You should burden people who are actually need to be burdened. Not knowing who has the disease is not an adequate justification for locking down everybody. Are you going to bed?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't drink disinfectants. That's a terrible idea. Like I explained at the very, very beginning of this exactly what to do. If you see COVID, you give them one of these, you give them one of these, and they'll run around scared. It's just people who look scared. COVID can smell your fear. If you're walking around all masked up and gloved up and like, oh, COVID can smell your fear and it's going to come get you. Do I hate black people too? And I mean, do I hate black people like you hate black people? Or do you mean, do I hate black people in addition to some other group that I hate? I mean, I'm racially fluid, evil ego 8. I'm fairly often black. So I'm about as often I'm Asian or French Canadian, Argentinian, stuff like that. It changes pretty much on a daily basis now, it seems like. Right. Okay, well, fine, Nicholas Watson. But my point about Ebola was simply to say that that a virus, the extent to which a virus spreads widely and the extent to which it is very deadly are not inversely proportional, but contraindicative. Your ass is racially fluid? Just your ass? Well, my whole self is racially fluid. So naturally, I am the most disenfranchised group of all, which means I can't be racist because I'm the most subjected to racism because I've been all of the races. I'm in a relationship, a committed long-term relationship, and my partner, actually, I haven't asked. She has told me her race. She's part a lot of things. She did 23andMe. She thinks that has something to do with race. Of course, it doesn't. But I haven't actually directly asked her what her race is. So I don't know. I may be having sex with a black woman right now. She's not informed me what her race is. I didn't think it was relevant. No, David White. No. The 0.2 number is correct. Let me source this for you. Okay, I'll source it. The thing is, you are correct if you look at the total number of tested positive cases and the total number of deaths, David White, you're correct with your numbers, okay? If you look at the total number of tested positive cases and the total number of deaths from that tested positive, then you're correct at 4%. But we have to be willfully blind and dumb to think that's the actual number, and I'll prove to you that it's not. Because remember, they're only testing the most sick people. They test all the most sick people first. COVID numbers 10 times higher. Okay. Even that, it's like number of Americans infected with virus could be 10 times higher. CDC chief says coronavirus cases may be 10 times higher than reported. The number of people in the United States who have been infected with the coronavirus is likely to be 10 times as high as the 2.4 million cases confirmed. Okay, 25 million cases. Okay. So it points out that as much as 8% of the population has already been affected. Now, because it's the Washington Post and the disinformation and bullshit around here is insanely, outrageously offensive, it presents this information as though we should continue to take extreme measures. Significantly, this would mean that 92 to 95% of the population remains susceptible to a coronavirus infection. Ignoring the fact that it's only 0.2% death rate. If in fact 24 million people have had the disease and 100,000 people have died, it's not 4%, is it? %1 would be 10 million, 0.5% would be 20 million, and okay, call it 0.3%. Fine, call it 0.3 instead of 0.2. I think even that's ridiculous, because in countries where we have good testing, like South Korea, the rate is lower than 1%, even though they've tested millions of people who aren't even displaying sickness. So they have a much more accurate population count, but still wildly inaccurate. Okay, don't get me wrong, still wildly inaccurate, and their percentage of deaths is well below 1%. So sensible people, smart people, reasonable people acknowledge the truth about things. The PCR tests are a topic of discussion anyway. Well, I mean, Evil Ego, why would you ask that question? It's weird. It's like you're saying, am I still real when I change race? Yeah, I'm still real. I don't cease to exist when I change race, obviously. That's a weird question. I mean, the race isn't real. Race is arbitrary. Race is completely arbitrary, and only idiots care about it, to put it bluntly. If you care about race, for example, I don't know if you do or not, Evil Ego, but if you do, let's say you think it's actually a significant matter in evaluating something, well, then, I'm sorry about your brain injury. The PCR tests are topics of discussion anyway, because they can test positive if you have a few antibodies left from exposure to another variant of the coronavirus. See, I heard this also about the antibody test. It wasn't. There are two criteria by which an antibody test is judged. One is false positives and negatives. That criteria, it's fine. It's at like 97 or 98%, which is what it's supposed to be about. But on the other criteria, will it give you a positive for is it distinct enough about the specific strain of virus? No, it's not distinct enough.
I probably spread it. I was on planes for so long during that time, so many times.
Let's hope so. Let's hope we did our patriotic duty to help this thing run its course. We all have a patriotic duty to help this thing run its course as best as possible. If I had little kids, I'd have a COVID party, like chickenpox parties my parents had when we were little,
Oh, really?
I mean, it was a thing. I don't actually remember going to one, but it was a thing, and that got talked about. Like the kids knew that somehow. I mean, we were not smart enough to be ahead of them on it, but we knew somehow like you couldn't trust your parents with chickenpox. They might invite someone over just so that they give you chickenpox. In fact, that did happen. My friend John Penny was invited over to hang out with me when I was coming down with chickenpox, and he ended up getting it. But I don't know if that was purposeful or not. I don't know, because it's like it was at the beginning of it. I'm not sure I knew I had it yet even. Anyway.
That counts. You didn't know.
I gave you that freedom to kill. Use it for what? For a death cult on the mastermind rather than the presidential office because you think you deserve the ability to do that to a fault of yours? Are you talking to me? I don't know what you're talking about. You're not making any sense. Which means you are consistent, and I appreciate that. I'm so good at burning people, aren't I?
I know.
I really am. I'm not good at being modest about it, though. We're going to admit that part.
I like smoking with you guys.
Okay, cool. Let's smoke together. Somebody I used to love. You didn't have to. Nobody that I used to love.
Used to
Used to know. Okay, that's what it says. Okay. My bad.
Didn't have to. Blah, blah, blah.
But see, that's the thing, King Crease and Summer View. It's not a method. Nobody is suggesting that we willfully infect vulnerable populations with
No.
COVID. And but it doesn't change the fact that it is okay for us to have this conversation. And people don't seem to think it is. But Eric, people will die. Yes, I know. And that's okay. We're not killing them. We're just not taking outrageously harmful precautions to prevent them from dying while destroying everything around us in the process.
Your hands are so warm.
Well, you know what else is better for adults, Lindsay's mom? Basic liberties. And so, as a parent and a child, I would say it's true for both me and my child. It's better to have COVID now and get it out of the way so that I can have a good excuse to not wear that fucking mask any longer. I am so tired of it. And I almost never wear it. It's like I wear it for 5 minutes a day or something, 10 minutes a day. I don't know. But it's like I'm tired of smelling my own breath. The mask stinks at this point.
We both.
It's
we
hot.
both like
It's
that.
just like,
Mhm.
okay, this is so dumb. And everybody's playing mask theater too. Unless you're in a store that requires everybody to wear a mask, most people don't walk around with masks on. And even when you're in the store with them on, people have them pulled down so their nose is out. They don't want to have to breathe into the mask all the time.
Yes.
At which point it destroys the whole point of it.
Right.
So why are any of us being forced to wear masks when instead of forcing everybody to do something, we could let people who are worried about it choose to take whatever precautions they want
Yes.
on their own terms, like any sensible fucking policy would.
Happy Independence Day. Can we rip the bong now?
Happy Independence Day, America.
Happy Independence Day, America.
We're gonna get past this COVID shit. We're gonna learn from it. That's a firework for my lungs and a firework for my mind. That's Uncle Sam's gift to me. The herbal green of America. Give me your tired nugs, your sacks full of weed, your huddled buds learning to be smoked.
Well, Statue of Liberty is green.
Right. Why? Because, it's history's first 420 propaganda. That was a pretty good one, right?
Good.
You likey.
Hi, everyone. Does anyone have pets that are going ballistic, or are most people not celebrating 4th of July?
No, it doesn't suck. I read you the article. I could read you another one. Okay, look, I agree. 0.2% is
Aaron.
is what I think it actually is, but I can easily substantiate 0.4%, 0.3.5% or something like that, 0.35%.
Aw.
So it's not like you're more right. I'm way more right than you. It's just, it's like, and I said this from the get-go. If you just think about the methodology, if you only test the sickest people, you're just going to get totally skewed results. And then if you present those results as though those were the actual numbers, you create this fear-mongering, hysteria-making bullshit. And all of a sudden, we are being governed by unelected public health officials.
I'm so sorry to hear that your dog was going crazy, Morge. I know.
It wasn't 4th of July. The dog just has a lot going on at work right now.
I understand. You gotta think about going to work the next day.
That was a good bone rip.
Good.
I think that those things are strategies to impose attentional biases onto other people. Like, if you're racist, well, it's really a way to impose SIFI, your own SIFI friends on other people. Like, well, from my personal experience, people at race
Yeah.
X are yeah,
True.
or
True that.
I don't have a good reason. I just don't like them. Okay, I just don't like them. They're nasty. They're meh. Those are SIFI things.
Yeah.
But it's also the truth that people who are TI users might very well internalize that as a strategy for dealing with their own emotions. It seems to me that groupism in general is a strategy to avoid meaningful engagement with the ideas and your own feelings about them. If you just blame the Republicans, blame the Democrats, blame the red people, the blue people, whatever, then you're freed up from the responsibility of having to engage the ideas and or having to make determinations about people based on the person's merits rather than a bunch of stupid heuristics that are totally impositional. It's like Rachel understands that she is a woman, and I understand that she's a woman, but I don't think of her foremost as a woman. I think of her foremost as a human being. Occasionally she'll do something and I'll be like, see, this is what women always do. Women are always.
Aww.
Occasionally, I will do a little bit of that.
I will too.
But by and large, if there's not any conflict, then I'm not thinking about ontological labels. I'm actually interacting with you as a human being in the moment.
Yeah, I feel that. But I also notice that with most people, you're like that, which is nice.
Well, David White is very racist. The thing is, as the world's most racially fluid human, I am the world's foremost expert on racism. Everybody except me is racist, okay? And other fully racially fluid people. Those are the only people who get a pass. Once you've gone racially fluid, you never go back to a druid.
I like that.
Old thing.
I don't want to go back to your druid. There's this play called Avenue Q, and there's a song called Everyone's a Little Bit Racist, because everyone is a little bit racist.
I can't be racist because I have been all the races.
And right.
That's not possible.
So it just like negates all of it.
Although I gotta say, whenever I'm Chinese, I'm super racist. Because Chinese people, they're incredibly racist. That's a good joke, right?
Yeah, I feel like that.
I hate racism. It's one of the reasons why I'm racially fluid. It's just that, when I'm Chinese, I'm so racist. Because those goddamn Chinese people are so fucking racist. I hate racism.
They are.
Anyway, these are the challenges I face as a racially fluid person.
They're so racist that, like, they even are, like, they're racist against themselves. They, like, kill, like, their own kids and stuff.
Well,
if you're not in the right, like...
That's mostly, I think they mostly kill you for being a girl.
Yeah, for being a girl and for, like, being an unlucky year of the Buddha calendar. Seriously. We're not joking. These are also people who wear masks every day.
No child of mine is going to be born in the year of the mockingbird, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Druids, explain, indeed. Most of my life, most of the lovers I've had in my life, their ex-boyfriend before me was a druid. Rachel had a whole string of druid boyfriends before me. They were always casting nature spells, making plants grow, healing the sick animals. I can't compete with that. Whenever you talk about your ex-druids, Rachel, it makes me feel incredibly insecure.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
They were all, like, loser. So
You know what? It used to make me upset until I heard the great expression, once you've gone racially fluid, you never go back to Druid. And then I felt safe, knowing that you'll never go back to Druid.
yeah,
You know?
obviously, because like gross. If I were to go back to Druid, I know what that means too, Druid. Cause I'm a noob.
Well, one more says, "Hey neighbor," said that to a neighbor, and I got beat up when he was a teen. Okay, if we just take out that your adjective there, that explains everything we need to know about that story. I can't believe that. How unfortunate. When Lawnmower was a teen, he said, "Hey neighbor" to one of his neighbors, and that neighbor beat him up. How sad. That's all of the details we need to know about that story.
Yeah,
How awful of that neighbor. That's a bad person.
that's a bad person, right?
The adjective you include there
Right.
is not irrelevant.
Right.
You know, most of my school teachers, when I was growing up, in retrospect, were engaged in a program of ontological violence against me, one way or another. And I don't know for sure. I think most of them identified racially as white. That doesn't mean that people who identify as white are more likely to engage in ontological violence against people.
Yeah.
It just means that I grew up in a neighborhood with a bunch of white people around me.
Yeah. I did too.
Well, I mean, whatever you said is not an excuse for violence. I mean, that's what I would have said if somebody were approaching me with violence. It doesn't work. It didn't work for me that one time, but I'd probably do the same approach. Hey, there's no excuse for physical violence, mister. You're gonna knock that shit off. Don't make me use the prison industrial complex against you. I will, mister. You know how there's so much racial disparity already. I am not afraid to pile on. Better not punch me. It never worked. Every culture deserves its place and celebrated for the differences. I don't agree with that at all. I totally don't agree with that. I couldn't disagree with that more. Cultures that respect rights and protect free expression deserve to be celebrated for those accomplishments. And nobody should be celebrated for their differences or similarities. We can judge behaviors according to a much better metric than that. Well, it's bad or good because it's more or less different. That's not a reason to be bad or good. That's not a normative justification, being more or less different. Diversity is not inherently good. If diversity were inherently good, why don't we have some black? You know what? Because we don't have any black widows in here. We don't have any black widow spiders in here. We've got 2 humans. We got a cat. Are we being speciesist? Are we being species racist by not including some black widow spiders in our nest here? I really think we need to be more inclusive. Diversity is not inherently good. Including more things is not inherently good. You know what? I know we got all the ingredients in the pie. I know we have all the ingredients we said we're going to put in the pie, Rachel. But I'm thinking this peach pie, why don't we put some lobster in there too? And some mayonnaise and some black widows. There we go. Now it's more diverse. Wonderful. So the thing is, it depends whether diversity is a good thing or not. And that's something you can determine by measuring the outcomes of it to a certain extent, and or by measuring the negative impact that seeking diversity has on systems, on otherwise meritocracy systems. So the thing is, it's like, well, people might say about standardized testing, that's not meritocracy because it's somehow biased. It's not racially biased at all. I think racially biased by standardized testing. It's the exact opposite of biased. It says, everybody take the same test. That way you can find out for reals how you compare against other people. If you're genuinely good at these tests and smart, quote unquote, then you will say, see, you're better than 90% of the population. You're special for your test good. And if you're shitty at it, you're shitty at it. Now, if it is the case that people of a certain race, whatever race, tend to score lower on the standardized test, it is not because the tests are racist. It is because those populations of people either don't prioritize education as much, aren't as academically intelligent, or other things like that. The problem is schools forcing this one understanding of success on everybody, regardless of whether it's in their nature or not.
Where are you from, David White?
David White, are you from Sao Paulo, Brazil? British or Christian France worship Saturn like the Italians?
I can't.
France worships Saturn, usually. But a lot of people, they just worship the car, the Saturn. It's an old car
I
brand.
used to have a Saturn.
Did you really have a
Swear to
Saturn?
God, my grandma got into an accident in a Saturn too. My uncle used to work for Saturn.
Yeah, they wasn't around for a super long time, but I remember their commercials clearly.
Really?
Yeah, because I remember when they first came out with their commercials, they're like, it was the first time a car company, it was a major car company brand like Ford or Chevy or whatever, had this idea to basically launch a line of cars and pretend to be a separate car company. Like now there's not just Ford and Chevy and Toyota, there's also Saturn. We're another car company like those other car companies. Because they weren't. They were a subsidiary of like GM or something.
Yeah.
But they did a good job in their advertising, presenting themselves as like, as though some car guy had said, I've got my own design for a car, and I'm gonna start a car company, and it's called Saturn.
Yeah, my mom has Saturn. She drove a Saturn. And my grandma had a Saturn.
Here's another funny fact in California: they've repealed affirmative action. It's one where you can't discriminate on race and gender or sexual orientation. Well, I mean, they just actually voted to reinstate affirmative action. The thing that's ridiculous about affirmative action, of course, but I don't see affirmative action as a bad thing. I just point out the following. The correct approach is to simply say whatever race you feel like saying you are, and then explain to the university that race is entirely arbitrary and I can choose whatever race I want. You can't prove I'm not that race. You prove I'm not that race. Are you telling me what race I am? It's like you got to think about how these things work as arguments. If I were applying to college, I'd put down all those identity things. And I'd show up and obviously not be that person. And then I'd have that argument,
I've done that. I've been like, that's why I did the 23andMe thing, because I was to know as much as possible. Like, that's how I found out I'm not Jewish, actually. And also it's how I found out I was Greek. And like when I was with Harris, his narcissist mom, didn't like me because she I was in Greek, but I'm actually 7% Greek. How funny is that?
Okay, so Clara, what I was thinking about here when I was talking about that was not races or ethnicity. I didn't say that. I said certain demographics, certain cultural groups, for example. So it is the case that Mexican laborers immigrating to Los Angeles from Mexico they come here uneducated, which means they come here as part of families that typically don't value education very much. It's not important to them that their kids go to college. It's important to them that their kids work in the family business and stuff like that. So they're not going to do particularly well on standardized tests compared to somebody like me who was raised in a house where, most of my childhood, when we settled in for the evening, or what everybody in the family did was read books in chairs. And my dad still does. He still just sits in his chair and reads his book. It used to be my mom and my dad sitting in chairs reading books. And when I was a kid, it was me and my mom and my dad all sitting in separate chairs reading books. So my mom didn't like TV. Neither of my parents liked it. But of course, when I was a little kid, there were only 4 or 5 channels. So it was fine to say, well, there's probably nothing on.
No, I'm not Jewish. I checked the they did a urine sample of mine, and they or no, not it was
Listen,
saliva.
I can confirm this too. I have checked her. She is not circumcised. That means she's not Jewish.
I'm not Jewish.
Because everybody knows that all Jewish people are circumcised. She doesn't even have a penis. Just a vagina. Totally not circumcised. So obviously not Jewish.
Mhm.
Education and opportunity is given when external financial needs are under the site. Well, but see, the thing is, what I'm saying, Kyra, is it is not good for any population. It is not good for children of parents who are very educationally minded. If they're an ESFP, they're going to internalize the same bullshit everybody does. The whole system's broken. Education should be individuated to students' interests and talents, not this broad academic education that is presumably enriching and broadening, but it isn't what the modern world is. We see with the internet, people narrow their lives down to things that are generally consistent with their own whatever. Like, so if you're really conservative, you're only going to read really conservative shit, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna join you. Excuse.
I tend to think of Jewish as being a religion. I know that Rachel is not religiously Jewish because she doesn't celebrate Hanukkah. She doesn't celebrate Passover.
No.
She doesn't celebrate Yom Kippur.
Mm-mm.
Thoughts on prison? How they're
No.
racially grouped?
I'm no. I'm Roman. I was raised Roman Catholic. That's what I was raised as. Hey, what's up, Frank James?
Oh, Frank James is here. Wow.
Yeah.
Here I'm sort of
They-
just zoning out.
And they like made it like neutral. He doesn't have the check mark. I like that. He's just like one of the regs.
Maybe it's not him.
No, it's definitely him. That's
I mean,
his icon.
so why do they
Oh,
get rid of-
maybe it doesn't have to be him.
I don't know. Anyway, well, whatever.
Life is good.
Well, Frank James, one reason why life's good for you, you're not in prison, which is what we're talking about at the moment. I want to say this about prison. Prison is not racist. And it's not the case that cops in general are racist or that the laws are racist. It is the case that laws of prohibition against consensual crimes like drug crimes will always manifest unjustly. And the reason is because a cop can always, if a cop pulls you over and you've got drugs and you're his buddy's kid, then the cop can go, you know what? I'm going to throw your drugs away. You go home. I'm going to talk to your dad, but I'm not going to arrest you. And so you're always going to get corruption with consensual crimes because there's no victim to complain when the cops don't do their job fairly with everybody.
Running Fox, I thought the same thing. I'm Frank James, bitch. I always wondered if people said that to him. I'm sure they have.
Probably they have. Eric, did you see my last question? No, I did not see your last question, Kyra. Let's see. What the hell is Frank James doing here? Good question, Kyra. I don't know.
I don't know either.
That's not your question.
Are you really Frank James, or
That's Frank James. I'm sure it is. He's not doing anything weird or anything. It looks like him, right?
That's the icon that he uses.
Right.
Yes, INFJs do think alike.
I'm working on a further video of slot mechanics just because I want to make these tables that Rachel would like to have access to as reference documents. Make them as NI friendly as possible, which means I gotta really bust out my strength and shut down my innie. It's a celebratory night. What are we celebrating? Or did something good happen to you? I'd like to hear what it is.
Independence Day.
Oh, it's 4th of July. I forgot about that.
They have fireworks by you in Virginia?
I can hear the explosions right outside the door,
Yeah,
but I
like-
just totally drove. Oh, what are you celebrating? Oh, did he marry or something? I was thinking
That's
like,
how much
maybe
he
he got
cares about
engaged.
holidays. I love holidays. That's the 7 part of me. 7 is like holiday, day off. Yeah.
but, it could have. You could be though. That was like he's got news. I'm celebrating mood. Yep, I entered my first polyamorous relationship. I am so excited about it. So Frank James, what do you think? Are you considering for your future relationship choices polyamory? It was just basically just fucking different people. I don't know why they call it polyamory, right? Fucking a bunch of different people.
Doesn't it like revolve around like one person?
I guess you have a stable set of people that you hump. A stable set of people that you hump sounds like
Oh my god!
a better description than polyamory. We had tons of fireworks in Spring Hill, Florida. I wonder if Polytechnic is beginning to regret its name Poly. See, Pasadena Polytechnic, where my debater goes to school, everybody refers to it as Poly. But I wonder if now that polyamory has become a term, if when people say "Go Poly," people snicker about it and say, "Poly's telling you to be a slut."
I don't think that's Frank James.
Okay, so I mean, he has been here before. It's not inconceivable.
True. I'm just surprised that he would say that. Sounds fun.
I think he's trying to say, I'm not judging you though, but I'm not
Oh.
interested in polyamory at all.
Yeah, I'm not
Or
either.
you're saying I'm not judging those who are.
No,
about
I
that.
agree. I say whatever floats your boat too. I'm not into it. I think it can cause some problems
Whatever
in
floats your boat. Huh?
intimacy.
What if your boat is floated by murder, Frank James? Is that okay?
That's something that I've done to the boat of ours.
Our boat is fairly well beaten up, but that's fine. You know what? It's actually what I've discovered is that in our fights, the boat takes a little bit of damage, but in our post fights, the boat becomes stronger than it had been before the fight because our patchwork is stronger than the original board.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Frank James has what side within him? Mega Chad. Right now, Frank James is literally running amok his 300,000 plus subscribers, just slaying puss after puss.
Should I
You off, you on. Come on, let's go.
tell him about how I was speaking of him this morning?
Yeah, what were you talking about him?
I don't know. I was talking about Frank James this morning, and I kept on saying James Frank
Oh yeah. You
because
said it. Yeah.
I don't like the name Frank. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, Frank James, but it's true. I told my parents that for some reason. I'm like, I don't like the name Frank.
But it's also the case that with two first names, it's more easy to misspeak and mix them up.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna lie. I don't like your name, so it's gonna be second in my mind always because I like James better than Frank. So it's like coded in my mind.
Anyhow,
I
if you
I'm
heard
not-
referred to you as James Frank countless times.
Jeez.
Having said that, we should be pointing out that she's very excited to watch your videos a lot, all the time. And
Yeah, I'm
YouTube,
a fan.
I gotta say, Rachel, relax, baby.
I feel like I don't have to explain myself.
You don't need to explain yourself. You're fine. Everything's good. Relax. I prefer to indulge my F5 when it comes to relationships. Polygamy is more of an anti-tool thing in my experience. I think so too. I think that Rachel would never be able to tolerate a polyamorous relationship because it's demonstrative FI. INFJs and ISFJs both think that what they are responsible for is to make it clear to the world how they feel. And to some of the time, an INFJ or an ISFJ will blame themselves because they didn't communicate clearly enough how they felt. Other times, if they did communicate clearly how they felt, then they'll blame the other person, especially INFJ as well. So if Rachel communicated clearly to me how she felt about something, I ignored her, and then the bad thing that she anticipated happens, then she'll be mad. Host Eric is putting out feelers now. I mean, Dave White, are you trying to say that when people use their feelings, it's like they're on fire and they need to be doused? Is that what you're saying? I don't think that's fair. FI is not a fire that burns your heart and soul and skin, okay? It is instead a warm and glowing fire that provides light and heat cooking things.
Why did they take away
Good for you,
nice,
Frank James.
Frank James. I'm so glad. I was wondering if you still drink. Because I know that you said that you don't like to live stream and drink.
Do people recognize you in public now? I've since I ever started YouTube, I thought one day, someday, someone's gonna recognize me in public. Somebody that I don't just sort of out of the blue goes, Host Eric? I really want that to happen someday, but it never has. Has that happened to you, Frank James? It's weird because like the amount of subscribers you have is nuts, but at the same time, it's like how many million people are in Los Angeles? Like 20 million people or something?
Excuse me.
You pretended to be Justin Bieber for a live chat. Well, but I mean, it's pretty believable that it could be Frank James.
I fucking feel bad.
Why do you feel bad?
Because I don't like the name James. I mean, see? I don't like the name Frank. And now I feel bad because I have an opinion on a name.
Okay, well, why does it make you feel bad to have an opinion on his name?
I don't know.
You don't like it when it comes to territory? It makes sense that you wouldn't like it. You probably prefer to just sort of stay undercover and stuff. Third slot FE.
I like the name James.
Well,
It's cool. He probably doesn't like my face, so.
you could compromise and go with, Jank or
Thanks,
Frames.
Tiny Man 66. I really am. It's very hard for me to lie.
So why does it bother you that you talked about his name like that? Is it because you feel as though you're being judged now? Is it because
No, because because I judged. But really, I was just trying to tell a funny, it's just funny. Yes.
that's some serious firepower?
And
Wow,
it was also a distraction from what I.
Oh, these peacocks. Can't they tell the difference between a
Cool.
peacock call and a firework exploding?
Yeah.
So is it basically like it went a little
That
bit
was right
awry?
next door.
It was basically like it went a little bit awry and it didn't play out as you had hoped to play out? Was it gonna play out like on FE ground or
I thought you were kind of stopping me as if you were being like, you're going to hurt his feelings.
I mean, that's to the extent that I was sort of displaying some sort of squelchiness, I guess. It would be
Nice.
it would be that I guess it seems unnecessarily abrasive or something.
Sorry.
But look, I honestly don't mean to critique you.
I know. I mean, I'm sorry, Frank James. I didn't mean to be judgmental about your first name. I'm judgmental about myself every day.
Boy, that's the truth. My poor, precious, wonderful angel here doesn't hold herself in quite as much esteem as I hold her.
And I also have a really bad time lying. I'm not a good liar.
Listen, I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little sugar
Ooh,
to compensate for the lemonade. I think the name Frank is absolutely one of the most direct, straightforward names ever. Very frank. Who's going to give me a hug? I have PMS and my narc ENFJ dad is coming to my house today and I'm scared and I'm already stressed. I will give you a hug you and say, hide your drugs, hide them well so your father won't find your drugs in your house. Yes, hide your drugs. Hide your drugs. Good advice.
My name means
Angel
my
of Wonder.
first name means you or baby lamb, and my last name means the hairy woman.
So you're a hairy woman sheep?
So I don't like the name Frank, but I also have a last name that means the hairy woman. So
And you know my last name.
fair is fair.
My last name anagrams to Asrust. Who else can spell the name Asrust out of their own last name?
Exactly.
Me, I can. ASS
Yeah, that's what we have in common.
RUST. STRAUST. Same letters. What does Eric Strauss mean? E.
Hi, Michael.
E is for everyone. Eric Strauss is everyone and everything everywhere. R.
Am
R
I
is
into
for
the whole
really
Amazon
fun.
thing? No, I am not into the whole Amazon thing. Rachel, forgive me for asking, but did you remember your medicine today? I just wanted to you to be careful. Also, I'm sorry, but Winston's mom, that's extremely patronizing. I'm 35 years old, and I also take my medicine in front of Eric every night, and I don't even do that on purpose. I just do it because I just do it.
Okay, look, here's the thing. I understand what you're saying, Rachel. And I also will say that there have been days where, bye, Frank James, thanks for being here. You're a gentleman, a scholar, or you're a friend. I'm assuming you're saying peace out when you put your fingers like that. There have been occasions where you can't remember whether you took it or not. We're not necessarily great about keeping track of that shit. So that's just reality. The other thing is, you've indicated in the past that sometimes difficult times might correlate with having forgotten a dose or something. Anyway, I really think that Winston's mom means well. I know that it's probably not something you want to talk about, and I respect that too. So anyway, I hope everybody's happy and peaceful here. I think it's also kind of a bit of a stressor, Rachel.
I have a mom.
I
already have parents who are on top of me about out my whole life. So please, don't ask me about my medicine.
Okay, well, I was just gonna say that
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm just saying it is patronizing. Well, thank you. Give someone a break.
I'd like to think that nobody would not give you a break. Everyone's happy to. Movie Man says, "Tell her come back. We love you." For a girl who's got small hands and therefore kind of adorable middle fingers, they're remarkably fierce. When Rachel's pissed off about something, she gets those middle fingers out and she's just like, and you feel the fucking emanating from them. We all have just random moments of being more or less combative or more or less fussy or whatever. A lot of people around here are super combative. It's weird. Rachel gets a little saucy for a moment, and everyone's like, eh. But of course, people like Raphael and Cloud, they're never anything but saucy. Yeah, don't beat yourself up either party here, Rachel or Winston as well, hopefully.
It's okay. Look, just don't ask again.
Okay. Well, she made herself clear, and
That's where I
Winston's
draw
mom
the
will.
line.
Okay, fine. You made yourself clear, and I'm confident Winston's mom will respect that.
Yeah, no, she will. It's okay. I'm not trying to be combative. Like I'm just trying to state that like I don't appreciate people talking and asking about my medicine because it's a personal thing and like
Well, and just to sort of make your advocacy or flesh it out a little bit, the thing is, of course, there's this phenomenon that I know Rachel's had to endure, and probably a lot of people who've been involved with mental health system have to endure, which is all of a sudden, any given moment when you're in a bad mood or something, the people around you may start to think, well, I can dismiss what Rachel's saying because of or something like that. Not that happened here, but it's the sense of those things is PMS, right? Well, I don't have to listen to you right now because you're just PMSing. Even if the person is just PMSing, what they're saying are still words that have meaning, and you still have to address the arguments. So,
it's fine. It was an accident. I know she meant well.
yeah, thank you, Rachel, for that.
See, I get over it.
Yeah. Are you
Real quick.
okay, so are we going to bed soon? Or are we going to bed together? Are you going to
No,
bed
we
soon?
do not have to do it together. I just took my pills, so I'll probably be sleepy in an hour. You can go to bed whenever.
Okay, cool. I do think NI-DOMs are maniacs to some extent, myself included. But what Movie Man 175 says here, it's an easy reason to disregard the person. So, of course, if you do have whatever sort of thing happen that requires you to draw upon the attentions of others, whether you have appendicitis and the doctor says pay attention and cut your appendix out, or whether you've got some sort of mental health breakdown, and others have to pay attention to you because left to your own devices, you're not adequately well right now to manage that stretch of time. Anytime that happens, it's a time period. During the exact time period, people have a different approach towards it. But it's only with physical illnesses that ends as soon as the what do you call it? Convalescence ends. As soon as the convalescence ends, the treating you different ends if it's a physical thing. But if it's a mental health thing, it's not necessarily the case. You want to still treat those people differently after they're not, even when they're not showing any symptoms. And they're susceptible to having their mental health leveraged in ways that are not, or maybe not so obvious. Like basically saying, well, taking a pathologizing approach in general. Listen, this is a problem. We really need to work on this. You need to do your part, okay? You need to do regular, because you're burdening your family, so the family feels justified in meddling a lot, right? But of course, the person is already been disempowered by their mental health problem. They don't need further disempowerment they don't need being willfully disempowered by others as means of tough love by those other people. It's just going to be a disaster, right? What they need is an environment that's what everybody needs is an environment that's fair and affirming and not interested in busting chops. That's what I had. This is sort of coalesced down into an NI reality for me over the course of the years that I've been doing the YouTube channel, especially, is that the thing that comprises a good and healthy family is that the family members aren't looking to bust you, but that they are fair and will bust you if you fuck up. So it's like in a good family, everybody can be busted if it's a legitimate fuck up. But also in a good family, everybody's hoping to not ever bust each other. They're not looking for things, not saving shit up to use against each other, right? David White says, that reminds me to take my lithium and Xanax. Hey, don't forget to take that. I'm gonna take my pills now too. I'm gonna take 2 Tylenol PMs. Who are you flicking out? With your adorable little fingers. Who are you flicking out? Why are you flicking it off?
Because I want to give a fuck about their opinions.
Well, I think that's challenging is obviously this kind of hostile negative expression is has in the past correlated with whatever, but I don't know why. I don't know why that happens like that. I don't have any explanation for it. Why did she want to be so? I don't know if she wanted to be so abrasive, or if it just happened. It's hard for me to say. What meds do you take? I just took 2 Tylenol PMs to help me sleep, and if that doesn't work well enough, then I'll take additionally 2 chlortrimetons. Chlortrimetons are antihistamines that put you to sleep. I mean, the thing is this. It is the case that Rachel can be moody without it exemplifying mental health breakdown. It's also the case that it's tricky because somebody with those particular issues, they get to be in a bad mood some days too. Just be in a bad mood. They're not crazy, they're just in a bad mood, right? They get to have that too. And yet at the same time, when a little bit of moodiness looks very similar to the onset of something more serious, it can be tricky. The fact is, Wesley's mom, there have been occasions when I've wanted to ask and have been hesitant to ask, not wanting to touch a nerve. And it's also the case that there have been instances when I have asked and have gotten a straightforward enough answer without any nerve being touched. But the other thing is, I think a factor here is I've started on the Adderall, which means I've been really absorbed in projects all day and not paying very much attention to Rachel. And it's kind of an abrupt shift as I shift into a more emotionally detached state of being that correlates with being on Adderall. And Rachel feels like a change in my attachment level or something. And probably NI knows that normally would correlate with a problem. It doesn't with me. It's just sort of my rhythms, It's not that I'm any less attached or in love with Rachel. It's just that I'm currently obsessed with whatever it is I'm working on. Yeah, I will. I'm going to go in and take a bath and go to bed soon. I can also check on my dad when I go in there. Make sure he's okay. That's the thing is Rachel is living here in an environment where I'm live streaming multiple times a day. Most of the time, in most of those live streams, there's not any challenging interactions between Rachel and anybody else. Well, what I'm saying, Lawnmower, is first of all, what Curious Kyra says there sounds like Rachel could have said it. Us girls can read things too far into things that make us paranoid. Rachel is a knower. She wants to know about things. Sometimes she wants to know what I'm thinking about. If I ever find somebody, if you find somebody in this television show attractive, weird questions like that. That like, it's a television show. But anyway, the answer is no. Regardless, those sort of things are predicated on an NI frame, first of all. It says, if I have enough data for my NI to process, I won't be surprised. The thing is, of course, she doesn't need any more data. She's not going to be surprised. I'm the same guy I've always been. You know, it's the difference. The difference in me from one day to another, it depends on where I am in my cycle with my meds. And if at the beginning, I'll probably be very absorbed in my work, whatever it is I'm working on. So, other than that, though, I'm pretty stable and pretty flat, pretty normal all the time. Like, or not normal, but I mean, pretty steady all the time. Sure, I get mad. Sometimes I like to rant about shit. It's weird. It's like I see myself sometimes doing things like that bear very much similarities to the negativities that Rachel engages in. For example, I was railing against something earlier today. The lead singer of Pearl Jam. Also, I was railing against the lead singer of Red Hot Chili Peppers. Hey, the Pearl Jam guy, could he be more like could he take himself any more seriously? You know? Could it be that those two people, the lead singer of Red Hot Chili Peppers and the main Eddie Vedder, can you imagine him going to like Eddie Vedder concert? All right. Hey, we're here. Okay, everybody get serious. Get serious. We're listening to some songs about serious issues. Come on. I don't want any cheering. I don't want any clapping. No dancing, for God's sakes. I'm going to be singing tonight about suicide, child abuse, misogyny, drug and alcohol abuse. I'm going to be singing about porpoise abuse. I'm going to be singing about porpoise abusers. I'm singing about cold water, how to water your grave. At the end of this show, my hope here tonight is that by the end of this show, you are leaving with a lot to think about and tears streaming plainly down your face. That's a horror I've articulated in music here. Music for you. Note, of course, also none of my songs are any good, so it's really going to be a shitty evening out there for you all. I think Courtney Love killed him. I get you, Winston. Well, thank you. Appreciate your concern. Appreciate it. She's growing a lot. That's the other thing is Rachel's becoming a much more realized person. It's very difficult to thrive in an environment where you are kept skittish. This environment is very dedicated to nobody having to be skittish. Email anthrax, that's a conspiracy theory. Kurt Cobain dead. Did you eat the body? I didn't. I don't believe somebody's dead until I have a bite of the body. You know how they check gold coins in the Middle Ages? Like, that's my way of checking to see if a body's actually dead. I just take a big bite of their flesh. Is that Rachel out there, or am I just hallucinating? Winston's mom? You and your husband split up? When did this happen? Why split up for 40 years? She doesn't have issues. She is a human being like everybody else. You know, it's like, I wouldn't call it issues. I just say that she's dealing with mental health, which means she has to medicate. When the medication's working properly, then she's A+ grade E-bear. Yes, Chris Chapman, anytime I see a dead body, I'm a skeptical guy, okay? So, you know, one of my weekend activities I like to do is I like to go to people's funerals and deny that the person in the casket is actually dead. It's for everyone's good. It's like, are we really checking enough? If I go into a funeral and say, Grandpa's not dead, he's faking it, then everybody comes up and checks. Then you can be sure Grandpa really is dead. But even after everybody's checked, I still don't believe Grandpa's necessarily dead. He can still be faking it. That's why I don't really trust someone's dead until I've had a bite of them. Chewed it and swallowed, tasted it, you know. And tasted death on this one. He's definitely dead. Eric, do you think Frank James is an only child? No, he's got a brother. He's got an INTJ brother. Which probably explains the good tea. But why has Rachel got to shit on Frank James of all people? Can't she shit on somebody else? Well, why is it worth shitting on him than anybody else, Eric? Well, because he's like super famous and important, obviously. That doesn't matter. A little bit. Wow, is his mom? You played that whole shit under the basket. Never had any idea you were splitting up with your husband. He'd occasionally drop suggestions that you weren't reveling in the ecstasy of your ever improving choice. That's the thing. Most people, if you ask them, let's say 5 or 6 years into a marriage, how's your marriage doing? How do you feel about your marriage? Few of them will answer that way. Few of them will say, I am reveling in the ecstasy of my constantly improving relationship. It's just like, He is so old, too. That's the thing I'm impressed with, David White. Sure, I'm impressed that Hitler was able to hide out in Argentina. That's reasonably impressive because he doesn't look Argentinian. But what I'm really impressed by is that he's still alive today in 2020. Because he had to be in his 40s or 50s at the end of the war. Which means he'd be like 130 years old or something. Oh, Tupac's alive in our hearts. He's talking about freedom. He's also ruthless, though. The thing is, let's share a little secret with you. He died of natural causes. That's the conspiracy. Tupac died of natural causes. What kind of natural causes? Natural ones, you know. He drank from a stream that had some dangerous organisms in it. Wasn't very clean water. And then a tree fell on him. Very, very natural. Yeah, that's what Rachel says anyway. How many personalities you think I have, Rennie Fox? Says Lawnmower. Just the one? Natural causes. Well, a person can die in a hail of gunfire. It can still be natural causes. It just has to be a tree that was shooting the gun. As long as only natural things are shooting guns at you, then I would consider death by gunfire, death by a giraffe firing squad, as natural causes. Animals can't do unnatural things. Whatever an animal does, he makes the thing he's doing natural. So, like, there's very little in life that's less natural than a first internet date. You know, unless you're an animal, then all of a sudden it's the most natural thing in the world. God, it's like bees and flowers and soya. It's just so wonderfully natural around here. If you love nature and you love things that are natural, then you're going to enjoy Big Naturals magazine. Yes, Big Naturals magazine, the sister magazine to Amazon's. When I was a teenager, remember like 13 or 14, I had a copy of this magazine called Mamazons, which was my favorite magazine. And like the ladies in that magazine, so like massive boobs. It's like ridiculously massive boobs. It's just like, how are her boobs so big? You know? Oh, Lawnmower, no. You've left out an adverb from that sentence, Lawnmower. The correct claim is sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So, you know, this is pretty advanced technology, but it's not indistinguishable from magic. I can figure out how it works. My penis, pretty advanced technology, but I have been able to use it successfully for my whole life thus far. I've solved crimes with it. I've prepared sushi with it. I've cut in front of people in line with it. The whole 9 yards. Oh, yes, Lawnmower. Oh, yes. Is that what's in the bag? What'd you get at the store, Lawnmower? Why are you hiding it? Oh, nothing. Well, I think I saw a label. Did it say game? No, wait. What did it say? Stop looking. Is that a bag full of shame? Lawnmower, I told you to stop buying shame at the supermarket. It's not worth it. It's 79 cents a pound. It's getting a little pricey, and you have to carry it in from the car. And once you get in the house, what do you do with it? It just sticks all over you, and you gotta take a shower. Kyra, don't waste your time with people who could be racist. Well, wait, hold on there a second. Chris, it's hard for you. I mean, any new person in theory could be a racist. So, you know, give someone a chance first before you dismiss them as unfamiliar. Could be racist. Get away from me. Well, I can't shop here. Why not? You could be racist. What makes you think that? I didn't say I thought that. I said you could be. I can't shop anywhere where somebody could be racist. a bag full of ceremonial suicide in one hand, and a bag full of King Krishna Samarpagu in the other. Can you see King Krishna's like the bag, like moving, like arms and legs moving, and muffled sound coming out of it? Okay, I got my bag full of shame. I got my bag full of King Krishna Samarpagu. I gotta tell you, the shame's a lot easier to carry. The King Krishna Samarpagu keeps wriggling around in the bag. Don't be a wriggle butts, okay? King Krishna Samarpagu, I'm tired of you wriggling around so much. Oh yeah, one big example is how race is not real. If white people are white because they don't have color, then Italians and many Southern European countries are not white, just like Britain. Well, white people aren't white because they don't have color. They're white because they're some sort of indistinguishable subspecies. It's different because of its origin story. See, originally there were 5 races of man. Well, how did they get there? Isolation. No, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. How, they would have to stay in those population centers for such a long time to explain phenotypic differences like melatonin or skin tone, and slantiness of eyes and blackness or blondness of hair and things like that. It's nuts to think that people have ever been that still, that non-travel-y. Well, look, the most natural cause of death of all is death by chlorophyll poisoning. If you take too much chlorophyll, sure, you take 6 milligrams of chlorophyll, you're feeling good. Take 40 milligrams of chlorophyll, you're starting to convert sunlight into energy, not so bad. Take 4,000 milligrams of chlorophyll, you turn entirely green. Why? Because that's too much chlorophyll. We don't need any chlorophyll. If you think that your problems are caused by a chlorophyll deficiency, you're dead wrong. I think that's why white people are white. They have a chlorophyll deficiency. I mean, certainly it explains why white people aren't green. Right? Mm-hmm. I think it would be appropriate if people grew rings like trees to make it easier to age them. Like these should be my tree rings. Oh, look at that. Look at the drought year, 1987. This is 1987. It's the drought year for this tree. You can see the space between the rings here. It's a lot shorter because he just didn't have enough water to grow very much that year. However, the next year, look at that. A lot more water into the drought. So anyway, we can use these forehead lines to trace back the history of drought and famine in this man's life. Curious Cairo, what about me? I spend so much time to get your attention, and all you do is bully me with you. Is that true, David White? Is that all Cairo does is bully you? I'm sure she does something else besides just bully you. She probably cooks dinner, helps out at her local library, learning the Dewey Decimal System. Stop bullying me. We're not bullying you, Eric. Yes, you all.
Stop it, lawnmower. You're taking it. You're buying it. Listen, I may be retarded, but you're the one who's being dumb, lawnmower. Trying to tease me. Guys, you know I'm also trans Jean-Luc Picarded, you could say. So I'm transracial, I'm transageal, I'm transgender. I'm also trans Picarded, which means I go from mentally disabled to normal and back again. The thing that I want you to remember is when I am mentally disabled, please remember this. I'm still a real person, okay? Just because I'm retarded doesn't mean I'm not a real person. I want you guys to remember that, okay? How dare you sell me these cigarettes? Identify as 12 years old. Yeah, exactly. It's a good idea, Lyra. I'll go into the store and I'll buy some cigarettes. And then after he sells them to me, I'll stand there for a second and go, ahem. Yes. I mean, this must have been pretty obvious to you, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I am transageal, and right now I am 12 years old. I am not old enough to buy these cigarettes. You should be able to see that. You know what song I sang for the first time, I think, ever did I do this today? And I pretty much can guarantee I'm going to sing it a million times more the rest of my life. For the first time today, when I went to get cigarettes, I said, let's get cigarettes, cigarettes. I want to get cigarettes. Let's get some cigarettes. Let me see you smoke and walk. You smoke and walk. Let me see you smoke and walk. Let's get cigarettes, cigarettes. I want to get cigarettes. I go into cigarettes. You know, it seems to naturally fit in that song. I'm surprised I hadn't sung it before. This shall forever thereafter known be the stream of Epi Sigma. Who's Epi Sigma? I mean, what does that mean, Epsi Sigma? Not Epi Sigma, Chris Chapman, it's Epsi. I think he just misspelled Pepsi. He's into Pepsi and he sees himself as a Sigma male. I don't get jabby about it, Kara. What have I always told you? I have said, you do you. You feel like being, age regressive at any given time? I'll note it. Oh, she's kind of acting like a little kid. Won't bother me at all. Well, I just Kyra being Kyra. What language am I speaking? I'm speaking English. SP Sigma. I'm speaking the land of England. The Brits, the Limeys, the Squashers, the beef and kidney pies. English E to P on accentuated bent in E. Accentuated bent in E, huh? Am I Scottish? I'm not Scottish at all. I'm not even a little bit Scottish. I don't live in Scotland, and no Scots live in the land where I do live, except for those from Scotland. But nobody named Scott. I look Irish? Well, one of my alter egos is the Irish supervillain Potato Famine, who goes around and steals people's potatoes or touches them before they get served their potatoes at the restaurant. It's another thing he's known to do. They say, I can put some butter on that potato for you. Really? Okay. Well, that sounds good. What does he do? He touches your potato. You don't want to let him. And you have to scream, stop, you scoundrel. It's the only way to get him to stop. Okay, here. So I guess I need to meow this meow. I'm gonna fuck this thing up too much. I guess all of this? No, not that. What is this? Put that there. Put that there. Like so. Line up better a little bit. Chow? No. How about Chow? It's so trippy that Winston's mom broke up with her husband. Where is that thing? Let's see what this. 151. Let's move it to here. Chow. What is that thing? Join. All right. All that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then yeah. Yeah. Is that better? No. What you got? Is America failing? Yeah, well, yeah, sort of. Look, I mean, I'm upset about the current state of affairs in a number of ways. This whole COVID shit is a breakdown of our use of discourse to have sustainable, consistent, sensible public policy. Everybody should have sensible public policy. Did America's therapist quit on America? Who is America's therapist? Did America's therapist quit on America? Who is America's therapist? Is it Americist? Is that America's therapist? Is it named Americist? Because that would make a lot of sense. I don't know who America's therapist is or why they quit. Was it the Pope? Francis? What went down? What went down? Everybody want to know what went down. Does America need a therapist? Well, no. Why not? Because America is a country, not an individual. It doesn't have personal problems, right? Gotta fix that part. It's fucked up. All messed up. Makes me mad. Gotta fix it. Like I fixed your dad. Oh yeah. So good. Yeah. I love that. That makes me moist. Me as moist as between your mother's legs. Who's here? Oh, it's the fireworks. That's what it is. I'm hearing explosions outside. Explosions. Okay, let's try this now. Up to, Dr. Pumpernickel. Dr. Pumpernickel. I like Pumpernickel. My name is Dr. Pumpernickel. Do I live in the land of hot dogs, burgers and dummies? No, I live in the land of hot frogs, burgers and shutties. Just before she reached the bodega, she cycled in Sinclair. Every day you've got to go outside, run that risk dying. After all the viruses flying around and the government's not forcing enough knowledge. Every day you've got to go outside, even though the risk. Well, I would not call the country particularly close to fascism. It's not very fascist at all. I would say, it's lamentably centralized that if you get a complete moron as your president, that doesn't help, Haka cheka, cha 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 cha. Well, okay, so let me ask this question. So these kind of questions are important because of what they reveal about questions rather than what the answer tells you about the question or the answer. Psi Sigma or SB Sigma is saying, is America's leadership authoritarian? Will it get better? Has America ever been this close to fascism? Look, I think it's fair to say Trump is the worst president America's had in my memory, for sure. I would say more divisive, less productive in terms of improving society. Forget about policy matters exactly, which is he's kind of hit and miss on. He's so random. But will it get better? Yes, it will get better. The thing is, ultimately, when I'm not being annoyed by it, I think about the COVID thing as fundamentally representing a necessary step in discursive evolution. The one area in which humans definitely do evolve, and have been shown to evolve, is that we're doing a better job as a species of taking care of each of our individual needs and manifestations. So it's like the average, quote unquote, low intelligence person, lower IQ person now has a higher IQ than they used to have. The average IQ person now, the average is higher than it used to be. The high IQ people, there are more of them, and it's higher maybe too. I don't know about that last part, but there are more of them than there used to be. in general, IQ keeps going up, and that has to do with it links very strongly to fluidity of information. Where information flow is unconstrained by parties who don't have interest, then society is best served, civil society is best maintained, justice is best upheld, and rights unavoidably become a meaningful public policy concern. Where information flow is controlled, then that is where rights violation or basically authoritarianism festers. Currently in the United States, the thing people complain a lot about is there's a sort of avalanching of certain narratives to the expense of other narratives, and this feeling like people are being brainwashed or led. Well, it doesn't work that way over the long term, and you can see it. You see how shit works in reality as far as politics goes by looking at two issues: gay marriage and marijuana legalization. Why did gay marriage win all those court battles and stuff? Or why did they win? Why did they win in so many states? Why is gay marriage a thing now? The reason is because you cannot sustain any arguments against it. Because if the government is going to make its tax policy relate to your relationship status, then you have to afford all parties the right to that relationship status. So if the government is going to say married people we treat differently than non-married people, then it has to let everybody marry. Now, some particularly poor thinker might say, well, everybody does have the same right to marry the opposite gender, though. Well, no, that's not the same right, because remember, marriage from the government's perspective has nothing to do with sex at all. It just has to do with tax status. So, in fact, the government does have an obligation to afford the ability to attain marital tax status to everybody, regardless of their sexuality. It is not an actual truth that somebody who is gay would choose to get in a straight relationship for the purposes of tax credits. So, functionally and meaningfully, it's people being treated differently under the law from a taxation standpoint. And that's one area in which we should try to maximize equality as much as possible. You don't like the pressure put on the church? I mean, I'm not putting any pressure on any church. I'm also not one who says, and you should be forced to do business for whoever you want it, whoever wants you to do business. You can't discriminate. And if things were done properly, there would be no central authority that's trying to compel individual businesses to do business in this way or that. If I've got a business like Starbucks, for example, in Starbucks, the employees are no longer allowed to kick anybody out of the store. They can't kick out homeless people. They can't kick out anybody. Why? Because one time, a manager kicked out a couple of black guys who, of course, made the media, or I don't know how exactly it happened, made it all about race. How did America get sick? I wouldn't say America is sick right now. I would say that America is America's learning the consequences right now of what it means to not stake a position. You've got to have an understanding of things, one way or the other. You can't just float along and be and have no position on things, have no understanding of things, and expect everything to be fine. There were very few good arguments being made in general about COVID stuff when it came out. So I didn't read the articles I should have read. I didn't write them myself. Maybe I should have, but I didn't see or read the articles I should have read, which were, okay, first of all, we should immediately stop all lockdown and quarantine shit because, first of all, hold on a second. These numbers are terribly skewed and misrepresenting the reality entirely. So if you're going off these numbers, They're wrong. So everybody halt to the shutdown shit. Go about your business as normal until we actually know something, because it makes no sense ever to engage in policy decisions from a state of ignorance. When did America start going downhill? I mean, I don't think America's going downhill. I would say that, well, yeah, I would say it is. It's going downhill. The last 10 years, there's been a lot more homelessness. That I guess I would qualify as going downhill. I think it is mostly a population thing. It's if you think about it, just 150 years ago, there were so few people in America and so much land that the government said, okay, anybody who wants land, just here's a homesteading act. Everybody just get in your covered wagons, just drive out into the wilderness and just pick some land and just make your house there. That's how few people and how much land we had. So it's like, it's like when they homesteaded, they didn't homestead, 1,200 square feet. They homesteaded like 60 acres or something. Remember, maybe not that many, but like, as many acres as one man could farm, which I think is an acre. An acre is how much one man can farm by himself, supposedly. They probably a couple acres for a family. Who's worse, Republicans or Democrats? Both are equally bad because they're engaged in adversarial stuff instead of policy work like they should be doing. How is all the problems in America the fault of multiculturalism? I didn't say that. But who's worse? I mean, you can only tell. I can tell you, if you want me to compare individual politicians against each other, like who's a worse legislator, John Boehner or Nancy Pelosi? Well, I would say it's neck and neck. They both have engaged in plenty of terrible bullshit as Speaker of the House, right? Or what's the main guy in the Senate called? I forget. Think of this. Do you think America was great or the freedom of our nation was? I mean, I don't know what great means exactly. I'm not interested in America being great. Okay, greatness is a sort of prideful adventurism I don't want to see America engaged in. Senator Primus. He just called the Senate Majority Leader, the Senate Whip, maybe, I don't know. What is better, great or happy? Well, I suppose I would like to be great in the sense of attaining a lot of notoriety for my efforts or something. But I don't know if that would make me happy or not. I'm pretty happy a lot of times just sitting around here, chilling, watching TV, whatever. Depends on the day. No, you can't. Nominations are non-transferable. It's not like $20 bill. I don't think Trump unifies anybody at all. Look. Listen, Mrs. Mom. We're going to get the best people here. We're going to get the most amazing materials. We're going to do it classy, okay? We're going to bring in gold sparkles. We're going to bring in big things. We're going to bring in just, plastic plants. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be the best thing ever. Kanye is running for president. I know, Randy Fox. I saw it. It was actually what prompted me to make this video. The weirdest thing of all, Randy Fox and everybody else, is Kanye West isn't any worse than Trump. Isn't it really any worse than Biden? I mean, the only advantage you'd say Trump would have is the evil we already know. And the advantage of Biden is going to be so weak, probably as the president, that nothing will really happen during his administration. I think Winston Baum's joking words. I don't think Winston Baum actually thinks Trump is uniting in any sense, unifying. I mean, Kanye's a nut job. And he's not a very sophisticated thinker. He's almost certainly an ENFJ. But then I've also typed Bill Clinton as ENFJ, and I think he was a very effective president. Thanks, King Christian Summer Pagoo. I mean, the weird thing is you realize stuff you may have once thought was inconceivable and that there's no way the country could survive it. I would have thought, if I had known going in all this stuff that Trump was going to pull, I would say, well, I mean, I don't know how the country can survive that kind of assault on constitutional principles, on just the habits of democracy in general. I don't understand how the country's going to be seething at the seams because you're dealing with somebody who doesn't care what words mean. But, of course, the reality is rulers change, life remains basically the same. That doesn't mean we can't do a better or worse job of public policy. Certainly we can, and we should do a better job, but most of the time, changes happen in Washington, and nobody really notices the difference in their personal life. I think you did. Didn't you, Mrs. Mom? Oh, that was Horse Mumbler, not you. You said the only problem is that Plato already told us how the story may end. It ends in ancient Greece. Okay, I'm going to go to bed now. It was Horse Mumbler. I was wrong. I think people who can't follow logic need to follow God. People who can't follow logic need to follow God. People who can't follow God need to follow their emotions. And if you can't follow your emotions, just, for God's sake, sit still. Okay, just stay right where you are. Just stay there. Death to politics by natural causes. Vote for the dog. I mean, think how great it would be to have a president that could actually just talk about everything honestly and directly like I can and not have to bullshit all the time. All right, good night, everybody. I got to go to bed. I didn't get any sleep last night. And thanks for being here. Love you all.